I'm recording.
Okay, all right, is Olga back?
Yep.
One little bit of housekeeping that I wanted to make sure we address tonight is, can everybody continue to meet the fourth Thursday of the month? Is it that is morning, okay. How about you, Olga? Is your teaching schedule going to work for the fourth Thursday? Great, okay, so we'll continue as we have in the fourth Thursday of the month. We're not meeting in December. So
Yeah,
we're
I
not-
teach on Tuesday, so Thursdays work.
Gotcha, okay, good. All right, very good. So the October minutes were in the board drive. Are there any questions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, we'll move forward. I have a copy of our covenant here. I can pass it around if you want to share it, John. I'll read the preamble and then we'll pass it down. We, the members of UUCA Board of Trustees, are here to work in the congregation's best interests. We commit to practicing the eighth principle, striving to accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions in all deliberations. With this guiding vision, we aim to foster an inclusive, equitable, and compassionate community that reflects our deepest values and aspirations. We can each do two and then continue. Yeah.
We covenant to interact with honesty, integrity, and compassion. To communicate with consideration of our impact on each other and the congregation as a whole.
Practice deep listening along with robust and candid discussion. Utilize the subtle act of exclusion and model its use throughout UUC.
Honor the decisions of the majority as well as dissenting opinions, both in the board meetings and outside of the meetings. Become prepared for meetings and practice collective responsibility for time and topic management, and begin and end our meetings in reflection of this covenant as a means to hold ourselves accountable to one another and to our congregation.
So we'll go to old business next. First is the implementation of the nominating committee recommendations. It's been in the drive. And I guess I would like to ask for comments about where you all think we are with this.
With what?
The nominating committee, the letter from the nominating committee that we got last spring, and we did reply to it in terms of what we plan to do. And I guess I'd like to know how well you all think we've done in terms of implementing their recommendations. We did,
Since March 2014.
yeah, that is an error. Should 2024.
Can you change that while you're in there, or?
I'm not sure what you do anymore.
You are. You're looking at the right one.
That's the one I did.
Yeah, well, that was the correct one. Everybody have it up? Yeah.
You mean the response that I said you already sent?
Well, I mean, the response that we made, which was the old board, the last board, identified things that we were intended to do that would have carried over to us. And we can start with those, although if there are things that we didn't address from the letter, we can speak to that as well. I mean, I can go through the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different bullet points from the board's response.
I mean, some things, but not everything. I think most things.
I had some comments in that to which it was related to, but, I like the suggestion of leadership training or something like that. I'm not feeling round, but I'm not goals that we're gonna do. And, that's the, least knowing what not to say. How to be, whatever.
So you feel like for yourself, you would appreciate more specific leadership training or access to that?
I'm
kind of thing?
rusty, yeah, I would love, I read that and I thought, oh. Um, it seems that some people felt they were equipped to do the job. And, just see what was worked during this, meeting and, I can understand. So that's what resonated. I don't
So,
know quite what that means in implementation.
right, well, on that point, there's several places. Here's one, where you can actually take the UUH training. Uh, And it's by section and has syllabus. This one here, so, that's something you can certainly look into if you're interested.
Resources available.
Yeah,
I went through the response from the board that had 5 bullet points with these are the things that we can do. And then went back to the letter from the community to see how their information from the responses that people did.
Can you speak a little louder? Sorry.
Sorry, I think we have one video. So I went through the letters, the nominating committee, first document report, and then the response from the board. And in the response from the board, there are 6 bullet points with specific things. And what I did was go back to the original committee letter to see, as people describe their responses, right, the summary of responses to each of the issues. I wanted to see how the 6 bullet points and 5 bullet points match. Like this will attend to this problem. And so mostly I think it takes care of those things. So I think it's a good list of things to do, the 5 things. I don't think there was much that was left out. The only place where I wasn't sure was this alignment with the principles and how people decided if they had a desire to support the principles of the church and connect to the greater community. And there I didn't know if there anything in this way. I don't think there's 6 points. So I think we're good with the 5 bullet points. My next thought is how do we document that we're doing those things and what could be a good plan for each of those things. I feel that some of those things we are starting to do. For instance, when we had the onboarding and we had that icebreaker to do a timeline, I feel that that was one activity that is trying to help get people connected with each other, more personally. And to the extent that more things like that continue to happen, on that. Because I think one of those things is relationships among the board members. That's a really important. How can we continue to be around that brings us together? But anyway, the idea now would be how do we copy the 5 bullet points and create a new action plan? And the 6, for instance, is really challenging. Because it's best practices and strategies. So we know the best practices and get some more information on how others may have been doing some of this, other places, the best practices and strategies to operate within the industry. All right, I'll stop it. Oh, that were you able to hear that? Now I'm speaking. We don't hear you. Were you talking? Olga, we don't hear
We
you.
can't hear you, Olga.
Is it us?
No, I couldn't hear you very well. I'm trying to. I'm just, I still struggle with our board Google Drive and how it's not easy to find things. I don't know if anybody else is experiencing that. But like when I go into the 24, 25 folder, it's empty. And then so that I'm not sure where other things are when I get in there. So I don't know, maybe someone needs to just help me with that because it's just, I always seem to have trouble finding anything that we talk about unless someone actually shares the link with me.
So the name I see is 23-2025.
Four.
Yeah,
There's the first folder.
I'm in there.
Point of entry, and then 2024. Alone, no. 2024. And then inside that, it's a lot of money,
Okay,
and the one that we need is November.
okay.
Olga, you now learned I had the same thing. I just kind of figured it out, really.
Okay.
Is it still empty for you?
Yeah, I found it now. It's just, I found it.
John, to clarify, the question on the table is, how are we implementing? How do we propose to implement?
I would say just generally, how are we doing? And because we end the letter by saying, we hope this letter reassures you of our unwavering commitment to making our next board of trustees successful.
Mhm.
And we are committed to transparency and openness in our actions and plan to share your letter and our response to the congregation, which we did do at the last congregation meeting.
Mhm.
If necessary, more discussion is welcome. So, I mean, I feel like we have not completed, but that we are working toward making us a more functional board that is transparent and open and also working within the best practices of the principal. I think that we spent a lot of time on our covenant and trying to really set the tone and our intention. And I think personally, I feel like we've lived it pretty well. So I'm not sure that we need to do anything else right now. If anyone else feels differently, and then what does that look like if there's any degree of incompleteness or discomfort with what I said?
But my sense
I
was
don't-
that, oops, sorry. Okay.
I was just gonna say, I don't, what evidence are we using to say that we have addressed these issues on here is my question. Because I'm looking at them and I don't know specifically what we've done to help try to change some of the things that come up in this letter. I guess I don't, I just, maybe someone needs to point them out to me because I don't see them. So to say that I think we've done everything and we haven't done anything, I don't see the action and the accountability that we can say, this was an issue and we changed it by doing this. This was an issue and we changed it by doing this. Like that to me is what accountability is, and where you can say, I've done and I've successfully and we've successfully tried to get that done.
Well, I disagree because I think what I was asking for earlier was the way that we break down the bullet points. So we have in the original letter from the nomination committee a number of recommendations. And the board in turn creates its own forms of action, which is beautiful. And so what I was suggesting earlier, we need to start documenting for each of these things we promised we were going to do, what have we done? I feel that we have done some things, but that this is a continuing process, that it's not going to be wrapped up. I feel that it's forever going to be our striving to get to be more. So for instance, the covenant is one example of something that has been worked on, I think that's very good. As I said earlier, the activity in the onboarding, the way the onboarding was organized could be considered part of that. The Terry's training,
What training?
when Terry came, it's another activity that we did. I feel that we had that because of trying to help us have better communication. And we could have more of that, right? And more of Terry's guidance along the way. Because in one day you cannot really absorb everything, right? Like the way that she was describing how to express your disagreements, consensus, etc. I think that could be something that we need to improve. So my disagreement is in that I feel that we have done some things, let's document them. To your point of accountability of that, we have to show them. We cannot just be, we did it. We have
Correct.
to show what is it exactly that we've done, where do we need more work. The idea of training, as Anne, you were saying, right? Like more of that, more. I think you found some resources, Reverend John, and then when we started, for our onboarding, the sense of an email is from Denise as well. So maybe there could be a way to do that more systematic and not just up to us if we have the time, but doing systematic for everybody. And more. My concern, as I said earlier, I think that the others are probably easier to understand procedure, but the number 6, the best practices for the 8th principle, that one that we need more enlightenment on how we do that.
I agree, I don't quite know, what the best stuff right now. We know what ideas, but I don't know what's the best.
And I think we have people in the church that have expertise that can help us, right? Things like this, like Olga, you have the same people and things like this, and you know, other members of the church could help us with this practice.
I mean, I think that looking at the letter that the board wrote back to the nominating committee in terms of the things that we were going to do, and I think we are doing to some extent, as Noemi has kind of just outlined, is what we're looking at, because we came up with this based upon the concerns raised by the previous experiences of people on the board. And I guess I would just say that, you know, some of these things are going to take more time to do, either as individuals or as a board. And I know I personally am trying to be very respectful of everybody's time as volunteers and not asking too much more time and trying to really prioritize. I'm not saying that this isn't a priority, but I guess I would like to hear from you all, you know, if we're going to have more training, if we're going to have more time together, to have more relationships as board members, what does that look like? What is going to work for you all?
That's the point.
I was going to say relationships among board members does not necessarily mean a separate meeting, but it could be about procedure or activities or something that is incorporated into our regular gatherings. Depending on the covenant and the challenge, maybe some other kind of team building and I have them, on a regular basis. And then there may be other things outside, but at least I believe I do something on a regular basis. Like these check-ins, I see that that's a really nice to do. I have connection.
Act doesn't always like read our statement of purpose like we do our covenant. Sometimes they have a question that we start with. uh, I think it's kind of a more personal way of connecting as opposed to being so corporate in our start, which is fine too, because it centers us. So that's something to think about, a starting question.
You know, when we were putting together the findings from the exit interviews, and we were talking about ongoing training, I think what I don't know, I don't want to speak to Olga, but what I kind of had in mind was, um, you know, the board finding some, you know, third party for training and just including like maybe an annual updated training, something that could be done, you know, without taking your point, Dan, about not imposing too much time, but I think the thought was that maybe A offers some training modules that would be helpful for a board addressing some of these issues, and they would just kind of get put into sort of like a regular rotation, almost like you know, I've got to do every year. I've got to do a corporate sexual harassment training class that I have to go through, plus like a corporate security and best practices type of thing. Personally, I kind of had something um, in mind where it would be sort of like maybe not the same stuff over and over again, but there would be some time set aside in the board's business to kind of run through some sort of third party training that would
Regular meetings.
or even like at home, like a canned presentation. Like
So it's not something that we'll do together.
it could be, but
Some of it.
you have to kind of, like, I just went through a bunch of mandatory corporate training classes that were like videos that I was so good.
Yeah.
I don't know like what's appropriate, but I kind of had that sort of, not that corporate America has the answers, but it is kind of like a thing, like a standard. When we were putting together our recommendations and Olga and I were talking about it, I had that in mind. I don't know where you would find that stuff, but you know, for me, I'm looking at the last two bullets on that letter, and I'm like, well, those are the two I think that
Their
the board,
recommendations, the one that they.
yeah, committee's ongoing training and then identifying the best practices. I'm with you. Like I don't know how you go about identifying the best practices, but coming up with something formal.
I mean, I think what we need to remember is that this whole thing came out of the fact that people of color who have served on the board in the past had such a horrible experience with the board that some of them left the church and did not want to be on the board. I mean, even to bring Noemi and I on the board, that was that wasn't something easy that happened because of the reputation that the board has around, especially thinking about issues around the eighth principle. So something, whether we have someone who, definitely you could do some training, you can do, someone who is kind of in tune to some of the way things are interacted. Um, I mean, I brought up a very sensitive issue that I sent to everybody in the board, and the response I received shut me down. And these are examples of how when I mean, I thank Nicole that really got what I was trying to say in her response. But these are the kinds of things that I'm going to bring out as an example of what people feel when they bring up a topic that is related to eighth principle and we're trying to make better, and then they're shut down to say, well, you misinterpreted that, or it's one of the main things that Robin DiAngelo talks about with white people in terms of you can't, if they're telling you that this is offensive, if they're telling you, if people of color are saying this is offensive and this is not right, white people can't come and say, no, not really, it's not, because you don't feel it the way we feel it, right? And so that's what we tried to do. And the way that whole thing played out last month, showed me we still have a lot of work to do around these issues, because when they're brought up, they're taken personally. The person who brings it up is attacked. I felt attacked. And so the board needs work on this. And I know most of the board here, most of the people here are new, but the fact that this is a pattern that continues to keep happening, even when people in the board change over, it's a culture that exists on the board that we have to look at and try to change so that people can say stuff. And the fact that people agreed with me, but didn't have the courage to say it in front of everybody, they came and told me afterwards, like, those are problematic. Those are problematic issues that you don't feel even comfortable when you agree with something, being able to express it in front of everybody in the board, because you don't want to be, for whatever reason, I'm not even going to assume why people did what they did. But that's an example of what, when you go back and, Graham was there and heard, when you heard examples of what people said happened, they were very similar experiences that I experienced. So, and that was why a lot of the times they just felt beat down, because, when they saw things that they had concerns about, or if they expressed something, they felt beat down. And so after a while, we get tired of that. We get tired of being there, which is why we don't want to be part of the group. And it's sad because we want to be part of the church. We want to be included in the church, right? And if we don't feel that way in the leadership roles that we have, then it's a problem that needs to be addressed.
Right, and so the training that can, right, they have value. I'm trying to also think of what are best practices. When we say best practices, because we know that there are certain approaches to training that haven't been effective. Some research shows that some of the PEI approaches cannot be effective. So what can we learn about the effective ones? And then how can we have these nuggets each time we have a meeting, perhaps, nuggets of wisdom, to be reminded of some of those best practices, perhaps to have these teachable moments when something happens, oh, that's related to this particular practice. We are learning together. But it has to somehow be institutionalized, right? If we're going to leave and other people will come, so this gets institutionalized. But first, we have to capture the best practices from somewhere. And so this may be the training module, something that is in front of us that we can come to when we're together. This is how one is the 8 principles, the 6 bullet points. We have another bullet point that is about communicating to conflict, trust building, patience.
I mean, there are a lot of courses on UU Institute that we can all take. I mean, church can pay for it. We can all take. They're mostly $30. If you go to UU Institute and you can search the category, the problem is I don't know if they're any good. But there's one on. I'm just looking at it. There's one on cross-cultural relationships. There's one on conflict. There's several on board stuff. That might be worth looking through too.
It's something that becomes part of our normative behavior, right? So that, as Olga said, when the actors go and are replaced by new actors, it has become part of the practice. that is a model, and so the new people can see the discovery. Right, so the training is just for me, and then everybody is training, absorbing it, but if it becomes part of our practice, I'm hoping that that will help everyone learn from each other and make it part of the way the board functions. moving forward.
I think that's a really good idea. My wondering is, how do you identify those resources? And so maybe some of you in your other professional lives, know of such resources, or if somebody wants to take a look at what the UUA has. I mean, I'd be willing to do that. I don't know if anybody else wants to, but I guess I don't want to assume that what I would identify is what's going to work for anybody else. I mean, I think it is a good idea to choose a topic or choose a module and have everybody complete it before a board meeting. We can do one a month and, spend time at a board meeting discussing it. But I don't feel I'm necessarily the best person to decide what that looks like.
One thing is, I brought it up, I should think about what it is I would like. What is it that I'm missing? What type of support, communication, teaching? Not teaching, really, training. But, yeah, so I'll think about it, look into it. I'm not sure how to enact it, but, so I went to a lot of training and it worked, the various communication and stuff, and rusty.
I learned a range of topics here, the communication, the building, the conflict things, and also the 8 principles. And I would say that going through a training, like modules or something like that, is one step. The next step is also capturing those specifics of the practice. What are these practices that we want to incorporate? So the module will have a lot, like the training. And then we have to get what is the wisdom and taking from it so that we bring it to the board. That's something that we want to continue practicing. That has to be captured too, somewhere in writing, some document, or video, something, so that we are reminded these are the practices to follow in the board.
Too bad Jenna in the book, the person who wrote Subtle Acts of Exclusion, too bad the two of them, one of them can't come, because that's what they do. They go to organizations and help them with issues around race and bias to help them identify them and create a better environment where people feel more inclusive. I mean, they're super expensive, but that is what their book is all about.
So is it possible for people who have been trained by the trainer to train others? Like,
We could find out. I'm sure they have a website, both of them. We could do some research to see.
Yeah. I wonder if they have like stuff that's recorded that you can tap into, something comparable. Maybe not Tiffany, Jana, and Michael Barone, because they're expensive and they're
Right.
20 grand
Yeah.
the service, but something kind of professional. And before too much time goes by, Olga, I wanted to thank you for kind of like sharing, what that experience was, because the way you were relating, how all that stuff landed for you, kind of, I think, drove the point home. I appreciate you sharing that with us, because it really made me think.
I want to remind us that we have richness in mind in our church. And so we're helping with training, Olga, you and one is training to Latika. There may be other people in church that I don't know that may help us, right? Identify how to do this training to get your expertise. We may not have to put $20,000 out there.
Yeah, you don't want to burden unnecessarily, but
Mhm.
certainly can get references or ideas.
In
I mean,
the,
something else to consider too, and Graham, you're still a member of BBC, so maybe you can, because I'm not a member anymore, but you know, it's a dying group. And I say that, you know, maybe that's not the right word, but
No, it's accurate. Okay.
you know, and I think it's dying because of several reasons, but one of the reasons is that there is this misunderstanding that we don't need as much of that anymore because we've arrived, you know, like that our church has arrived. And so it's kind of dying, and there isn't, you know, Fred started the BBC with us you know, years ago, and we've been able to keep it afloat, but for a while, but now we don't even have enough members to really. So I say that to say that where is the continuous learning piece that's a part of our church that is continuing to go on? And I know Nicole is trying really hard to keep whatever little bit is left going, you know, with trying to bring back some of the eighth principle uh, practices that we did in the past. But it's, you know, it's slow. And even when she does it, we get good turnout. I mean, the one that you did with her, Graham, we had a good turnout of people. And it was a repeat. It wasn't something totally new. But that whole, you know, like, what are we doing there? And I know from the book, Mistakes and Miracles and Mistakes, or Mistakes and Miracles, I don't remember which just comes first. One of the things that is identified there in that chapter about our church is how we've had many groups that have worked on eighth principle and race issues, and they all fizzle out, and then they recreate themselves and start again from the beginning, right? And see, that's what I see happening with BBC. It's almost going to be to a point that it's fizzling out. And then what will happen is someone else will come and say, we got to do this. And then we'll start again from the very beginning, and not, you know, because we don't have the historical history to continue on from where we were going. So it is something else to think about, in the sense that even as a whole church, that the pieces around really making sure, like, it's more than just adopting the eighth principle, right? How are we keeping it going? How do we keep doing that? That should be part of the things that come out of the work that we're doing with the board as well.
And to bring the groups up, because then that's part of our wisdom, the richness
Right.
we have in the
Thank
church
you.
is epic and BBC.
Right.
And do they have to be two separate groups if we don't have any
Well,
human power?
the BBC, when Epic was formed, it decided like the mission of the BBC was just to be more education. So coming out with those training sessions, trying to develop new ones as we could, and then Epic was really to try and be more hands-on with like issues affecting people of color and how to implement those changes. And
Epic is really more to hold people accountable. We were the accountability piece. So when something wasn't done, you know, like the things that haven't, you know, still haven't been addressed, Epic has been the one pushing to say, we still got to address these issues because they haven't been resolved.
So which one will be the best entity to help identify best practices? Or doing things through the lens of the essence?
in theory,
That is when we come back to the
there's
text.
not many left of us. So.
So is it possible to take the done? The ethic, I'm sorry. If you have two people who want to do the can see one people.
well, Epic is planning a conference in March, right? That perhaps will I mean, it is focused on the eighth principle and the history of, like, of anti-racism work in this church, I believe, since Fred is doing it. I don't know where, what the outcome of that will be or where that will be going, but that is one thing that Ethic's doing, which would be congregation-wide. So I guess I'd like to wrap this up because we've got other things to do on the agenda.
Right.
So it sounds like we as a board would like to have some additional training. What that looks like, if we can identify some modules or facilitator to come in and work with us, is what we'd be looking to do, and do it probably as a part of already scheduled meetings and pieces, or if we had somebody come in specifically, we may want to choose a different time, or something like that. Olga, it sounds like you have some ideas of resources. Is that fair to say? Is that something you'd
I was
like?
just gonna look in to see what Jonna and Michael's piece, go into what they've been doing with corporate and see if they, because some do have other resources that they can, that are not as expensive as, if they can't do it, maybe they could recommend someone that's been trained under them that may be a little more reasonable, or at least we even maybe we want to do something with us virtual. A lot of people are willing to drop their prices if they're, if you're meeting with them virtually instead of them coming in person.
Mhm.
So, I can look into that piece of it, to see what we have. And then I thought that UUA had a whole department that dealt with this. And like, what was Takesha Key? Yeah, what was her role? Didn't they create um a group? I don't know, John, maybe you know
The
this.
cleaner,
Don't they
the
have a
cleaner,
group that deals with these issues and come out to church and do that?
the cleaner retired, so I can look into that and see what they have and what they're offering and what they recommend. I'll put that on my list.
But if I may add something, Jan, because I believe what is being discussed right now is a specific action, try to answer the bullet points of things we promise. And I feel we should do some kind of follow-up, maybe a new document in which we start breaking down each of the bullet points into what are we doing, documenting any kinds of things that we've done or plan to do, so that it is like a benchmark, like we can go back to it and see if we're making progress or not.
I like
And what
that.
are the specific ways we're doing this?
I like that.
So perhaps putting these 5 bullet points, in the drive, in a document that we can all comment on and start entering things into would be, a way to do that.
Especially if we want to report back to someone, yes, we're doing something, this is how we show and demonstrate.
Mhm. Okay, and one other thing I would say is in the drive, in the letter to the board, at the end of it, Nicole had, put in the comments, some resources, and there's one, I know I haven't looked at it, but, she says, there's one called Naughty Conversations,
Yeah.
which is a U Institute. I mean, that sounds like it could be, helpful perhaps.
Yeah, Nicole had some good suggestions.
Mhm. So I mean, I'll commit to taking a look at those things that she's identified in here and see what we can come up with. All right.
There is the anti-racism piece and then there's the leadership piece.
Mhm.
And they're both tied together, but there's also, I think, some training involved in, to Ann's point, I think, about just your role as a board member.
Mhm.
So that's separate. That's a little different. So there's another piece there. And said I'll look into that too.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments? Okay, thank you all. So, Anne and Wendy, do you want to give any update on your plan with your, um, work on the letter that we received from Sam.
Just to clarify, is this a space to do that? Is it open use for the congregation or is that?
Yeah, I think it's fine. No, I don't think it needs to be an executive session to discuss with the planners. Okay. Because it's my understanding, we don't have the plan yet, and the plan is going to hopefully be ready for our meeting in January. And that's when we'll discuss the plan. If there's anything else you'd like to say, any progress you'd like to report, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too, but there's really not, it wasn't my intention to have any discussion until we have a report.
Certainly, made progress, we have a lot of words, and I think summarizing is going to be interesting. If we're taking a lot of, data.
So I can add to that the progress is having identified the particulars that we are trying to find more facts about, and the individuals from whom we should inquire about these facts and this scenario. And so that's what we have, and we have a group of questions that we are asking. And we have distributed who's asking, who's it in whom, and we do that. That's pretty much it.
Okay, all right, thank you. So next I put on the agenda, adopt staff goals and action plans for the 2024-25 church year. That's been in the drive for a while. There have been comments made. My last reading of it earlier today, it looked like to me that the comments and questions had all been answered. Does anybody have any, anything else that they want to discuss with respect to that? Otherwise, we'd be looking to adopt them.
We talking about the board which is for football, right?
No, we're talking about the
Oh, the
staff.
staff, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry. It's okay, come in. I think I added something in there.
Tried to look through, anytime I saw a comment, I tried to make sure I respond as quickly as I could.
I have two things that I added, and one was, one was regarding Zoom. We didn't have to change anything in the books, it's just to add the things to keep in mind. And so with the Zoom, I feel that it would be good to integrate.
Oh, hey,
Hey,
Not an
executive session or anything? No.
To integrate the Zoom congregants a little better in activities that are happening in person in the church. We can discuss that later, but that's the note I added to
Was that
Sunday
to-
morning.
you added that to the goals?
In the Sunday morning goal that often and ensure sound quality in Zoom and in person remains consistent. I added a comment about what happens in congregants and
We try to for the big events in the sanctuary. Not every big event, but most of the big events, we try to, make sure that members at home can participate. For example, in the, letting go, burning away, the things you're letting go, we made sure that we got the people online to share what they were letting go of, and no one came up and read those things. So we're trying to incorporate them.
it's very hard to have these in hybrid ways.
Yeah,
I can, and then the second comment was where it says, statement number 2, social, racial, and environmental justice. One of the ways it will be done is physical engagement of the lifetime experimental sessions. That's the focus principle. I am suggesting that another way is to say that the actual service will incorporate the principle. So not just those side activities, but the service per se, so either in the ceremony, in the conference, things that are already happening, but how can it be, said in a way that shows the other intention of the conference, ceremony, that the things that happen in the service, right? Attending to the to justice issues in general. So it doesn't have to be just a principle, but justice issues. That's part of our things that are close to our hearts when we come to.
Okay, I'll add that.
Any other comments about the goals? Action plan, step goals? So we need to adopt them. That's the order, but we confirm. We confirm.
I just added some questions in there, but you can address them later.
Okay. Let me leave you up for now.
Okay, all right. So next up is a minister's report.
So we just green lighted it. You did not voting on it.
Right.
All right, and it's green lighted. Thank you. And if you have more questions, I'll continue to work on this. Although you green lighted it, unless it's something major, I'll bring it back to the board if anything major. If it's minor, then I will address it and hopefully we can work it out through the comments.
Okay. So the minister's report, have folks had a chance to take a look at that? Just highlights, Reverend John, if there's anything you
All right.
really want to point out.
So one of the things, Jan, I wanted to point out is that when we went to decided to go to one service in December, it's because we were about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Sarah and I sat down and planned out the end of the year. We had the congregational meeting first week, and then another week, and then the week after that, the third week, we had a new version of Stone Soup. We let that go, Stone Soup, because we need a better. We were coming up with she's coming up with a better plan for. I think it's soup and stew, and a new version of it. So we had planned to do that. So we had 2 1 services, and then my biggest thing is always switching back and forth confuses people. And so we decided 3 or 4 weeks ago that we were going to go to 1 service in December at 10 a.m. Put them off. And then we did not think about the election, or I was thinking that Kamala was going to win, foolish me. And so I did not expect the church to be as full as it is now. So we have put out 183 chairs, plus choir chairs and usher chairs, 207 chairs. We had 100 in the first service last Sunday and 120 in the second service. So we will have red chairs upstairs. I honestly know that congregational Sunday service will be packed, but I don't honestly believe it will be that packed like it was last Sunday or the last 2 Sundays for the rest of the month. So I think we'll be okay. I love that we're a growing church. And so that was one big thing I want to let you all know. It just sort of was a plan that got away from us, and now we're stuck with it. We thought about changing it back, but Sarah had already told a bunch of, and Laura had told ushers, and classes were moved, and it was just going to be too much to move everything back. So we're sticking with 10 a.m. For December. So that's one update. Carrie's here to talk about winter relief. That's in the agenda.
Well, we're gonna do this part of your,
Okay,
we'll do it at the end of the report.
okay. I'm happy to report that we raised enough during our fundraising that we don't have to really fundraise for the rest of the year, which is great. But I am a little concerned, although don't have update numbers on our rentals. Rental revenue, we're expecting 25,000, and I'm not, I gotta get updated numbers. So I still have to figure out a way to generate revenue that may have to balance out what we don't get in rentals. But I'm not 100% clear on that just yet. So I wanted to give an update on that. I can give a financial update. Is that in the agenda?
You can do that because Charlie's not here.
All right,
And he did put a report in the drive.
okay. We are technically at 161 active members with the 21 people that joined. That does put us, we have not changed geo indexes, so forgive me for spreading bad information. We're still geo index 4. This is how you determine how big you are. Like 6 is the biggest, like LA. We're 4. Bethesda is 5. So we are still 4. But if our numbers keep going up and they stay up, we actually will have to keep that in mind because that puts our employees and minister in a different pay bracket. 450 and above puts you in the next pay bracket. But right now, I'm just keeping an eye on that. We are getting a lot of visitors, and we are very rapidly growing church, which is great. I like to see more racial diversity, but we are seeing some. We are having a big class Sunday for Realm. I encourage all board members, if you haven't, download the Realm app and make sure it works. Sunday in the sanctuary for those online and in person. We're going to be getting people to download the app on their phone and getting them set up. And we have a geek squad of 5 or 10 folks who can help you if you can't figure it out. But it's pretty standard. That app will give you access to everything. But the big thing is check if you can use your directory. Because a lot of people have not been able to use the directory. And check your pledge to make sure it's accurate. Talk to the member of the Geek Squad or me Sunday. That'll be the big thing for this Sunday. You're supposed to read this, so I'm just trying to give you the big stuff. Olga, I would love if you and Noemi could coordinate with Sarah about this trip to Puerto Rico. I just gave her a book on it, but that's not going to really help her in the way that I think she needs help. She needs to know about the social, cultural, racial dynamics, and so if you have recommendations, I would love for you to pass those on to her to help with her preparation for that trip in June.
I'll be willing to do that. Noemi, you want to work on that together?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I would like to go. I've never been, but I don't know if I can. All right, so we have a visitor coming from the UUA during our congregational meeting, which we'll get to the agenda because that's on we got to go to the agenda.
Yeah, I do.
All right, I know. They want to talk to you about GA, about volunteering at GA, and to take questions. So we probably need to give her 15 minutes on the agenda. 10 minutes. Okay, 10 minutes. I also want you all to consider, Olga, BBC, to consider proposing a program in Baltimore. They are taking proposals. I left the link in there. So please do, and just keep me updated on what you're proposing. I think that the UUA could benefit from you all's expertise. So let me know if you want to do that. All right. We are going to be getting a $50,000 security upgrade to the church. It will include cameras inside and outside and around the perimeter. It will include motion detection, breakage of windows if the window is broken. If someone opens the door, it's not supposed to be open. Monitoring, of course, the video surveillance. That is forthcoming. We have a vendor now. We have walkie-talkies now, two-way radios that people will be starting to use on Sunday. I had a couple incidents that I can tell you about that unnerved me a little bit after the election, so I am concerned about safety. But we're taking that serious. I'm combining the Safe Congregations Committee and the security team into one committee. So that's happening. Be aware of that. I'll give you an update soon on that. And the electrical is coming after that. So that's still happening. There's protective film already on the windows, so you should know that. And the doors have been fixed.
Question, I don't know if that was in the report, but I saw it, the parking. Really in the parking area?
Yes.
Part of the-
Yes, there'll be cameras in the Foss House parking lot, positioned there. Cameras positioned so that the walkway, you can see people coming up the walkway on the side of the building. A camera inside, in the building, in the atrium, a camera outside to see outside the building. Cameras to see down the parking lot. Cameras to see by the, lich gate over on the side. So full coverage, and we still have 5 ring cameras that we're going to reposition inside or outside the church and where there are any gaps. So we have a very comprehensive security plan.
And lights to go with it.
Yeah,
The lighting, I don't know which is coming first, the lighting or the security system.
sure. I just want to pass.
Yes, we're gonna have these,
Parking lot.
we're gonna light the place up, but we're gonna use these, they're gonna install these, lights that you put in the ground, you know?
Solar?
Not solar.
No, there'll be electric.
I think that's to change the position.
We have replaced the roof over top of the offices. We have, the flat roof should be done by the middle of next week. They're working on that today. And that's it. We're looking at solar for our big roof in here, so we're still working on that. And then there's winter relief, a huge project that you all could all get involved in that Terry is here to talk about. Is that enough, Jen?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Carrie. So, in the 5 minutes, I read your report in the drive. Well, so that's pretty much what I have to say.
I know, but
So I guess I would want to know, how can the board help?
That's a really good question. So, but I'm not sure that everybody read the. I do. So let me just really, okay, so. We have committed to the London House of Hope has run for many years this program called Vigility, where typically from November through March, 2 churches a week house up to 25 people experiencing homelessness. Typically, one church has co-ed and one church has just men, because it's a lot of money. It's not, and it's not family. And then all the folks come through coordinated entry, which comes from the county. The county decides who's like top priority, and then they go to a London House of Hope, which does actually give them some social services help in that. And a lot of them will be in the program for the whole winter. So they're gonna go from one church to the next church, to the next church, to the next church. Not all of them, some of them will get housing, some will, some of them will come in through in the middle, but a chunk of them will be in the program for the whole time. So our week is, the 27th of January through the 3rd of February. And we need to go rent a truck and pick up the cots from the previous church on that morning. Two of their folks will help us schlep. Two of their guys will help us schlep. We'll actually schlep. We'll drive. They'll schlep. Is what they mean. And then at 4 o'clock, they will go from the church they were in. They will get picked up at 7:30 in the morning, like they always do every morning. They'll get taken back to Arundel House of Hope where they have their day program where they can go to work or whatever they it is that they're going to do during the day. At 4 o'clock, they arrive with us, and they spend the night with us. And we feed them dinner. We provide at least a place for watching TV, some sort of entertainment, board games, a musical spectacular, whatever, or just a quiet place that's warm. We make them lunch. We'll ask them to take a lunch, or tiny little bag lunch menu. We feed them a hot breakfast in the morning at 6:30, because they need to be back on the bus between 7 or 6. 7:30, depending on whether it's the first church or the second church, they pick up, and then they go away again and come back again at 4 o'clock.
So the lunch is on the weekend days?
So no, the lunch is a bag lunch that they take with them. So they have something to eat when they're there. So that's Monday to Friday. That's Monday to Friday. Then on Saturday, our commitment is that on Sunday we keep them. We don't send them to a Arundel House of Hope. There is nothing there. On Saturday, many churches also keep them so that they don't have to, get up at 6:30 in the morning. It's actually 7:30 in the morning on Saturday because it's a little late. So we could send them back to Arundel House of Hope, but the guests generally much prefer to not have to go to Arundel House of Hope on Saturday. And our neighbors, the Catholics over here, never send them to Arundel House of Hope on Saturday. So unless we're short of volunteers, we're going to do them Saturday. And that means that we have to. Yes. So that's the overview of it. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done, and I think we'll have them all sleeping downstairs. We'll have them eating upstairs. We'll use the information sanctuary as the recreation. We'll get a techie person to figure out how to do it.
Has this been done here before?
It's never been done here before. It's been talked about for so many years. And the big reason that we didn't do it before was we didn't have a shower. Actually, that would no longer be a reason because Arundel House of Hope now has a functioning shower. They had a portable shower that they always had that never worked, but now it's been fixed, so it works. So we wouldn't have actually needed that, but everybody says that our one shower is just fine because it's only like 5 people a night in one shower. So, water for those 5 people a night, we should be good. So, but then there's, a zillion little pieces. It's going to take 100 volunteers. So, we have about 9 people who are really quite committed to it. And then we had 70 people or 60 people who showed up at a meeting last year. So we're going to meet again tomorrow and start, creating the final agreement. That's a very short version. What do we need from you guys? 1, to know about it. 2, for people to sign to
Or volunteer.
or volunteer.
Because we're gonna need,
And cheer people on to volunteer.
estimated number of volunteers you think we need for a week. Yeah. That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of practice in the church.
Yeah, well, some people will do it,
Yeah.
I mean, for instance, Rob Malone, who, nobody's seen Rob Malone because he's working his ass off. He was on the board, he was like everything in church. But he told me a year ago that he was taking a week off. And I just talked to him the other day, he's taking a week off. So there's a lot of people who will do, who will do a lot. And then we hope that, the families, when they do, there's, you can have a lunch crew, we can have a breakfast crew, we can have small groups doing one dinner after the next. George is going to think about what he can do next tomorrow, so we're just figuring it out. But we got a lot of people who are, who are quite committed, so I think it'll be all right. we went to see St. Bernadette's and what they were doing last week. We did a little field trip. Also, last year we went to St. John's Women. And the guy at St. Bernadette's, which is half the church, said, "Oh my God, you have so many people showing up to these meetings, the preparatory meetings. You're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. It'll be all right." And, oh, it's okay. Yeah, that's the story. And then Ryan and you and Ryan, because one of the things that can happen, we asked last year, we asked the guests. So like, what things are not so great? What things could some churches do better? They said, has to be warm enough. Please give us enough food and try to get your folks not to basically commit SAEs at home.
Oh, goodness.
So Ryan sort of volunteered that you and he would talk about that for the
The
pulpit.
intern volunteered me.
You were there,
I was.
yeah?
Maybe I was just there in spirit.
You and he, yeah, because,
Wow.
oh, so how'd you get in this position? How come you're home? Or whatever.
Okay, we'll make
So,
sure.
yes,
people-
should there be volunteer training?
Yes.
I mean, it can be informal, it could be online, it could be Zoom, it could be,
Yeah,
yeah.
so we have two, middle hours that are scheduled. And I think, we haven't decided, but I think it would be good to have a volunteer training Zoom that we also, copy, so that people can just watch it.
Sure.
And, I'm not sure I'm the most eloquent person to explain exactly what not to say.
But the work's already been done. It's just a matter of getting the documents. BBC is worked up and,
Also, Laura's welcoming training, like we kind of, between BBC, SAE stuff,
yeah.
and Laura's welcoming thing, we kind of combined the two. You can easily modify that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, turning it over to Graham and Laura because they've done that training twice.
Well, so, but it's also not just the regular SAEs that we all, but specifically,
Almost,
yeah, so how come you're in this position? How did you get to be, a person?
Yeah.
How did you get to be homeless, that kind of stuff? They may choose to share their story, but they
Right.
don't want to be, and they don't want advice about how to,
No,
And apparently in churches, they get some of that.
I bet they do.
Yeah. So,
Looking at programming, right, because there will be programming needed, you said, weekends, some
maybe,
kind of planning.
yeah,
And
They
then we'll,
also want something.
yes.
They will
So
find.
we'll
something.
invite them to church on Sunday.
That's what I was gonna
And they
say.
don't have to come, and they're probably not gonna go.
they'll be here though while church is going.
There's- they'll be
Yeah.
here, yeah,
So our congregation needs to know.
yeah, they'll be here. And then, we might have the band come play, and if there's somebody, if the kids wanna do, some sort of programming, mostly they may not all partake in all of that stuff, and they wanna sit on their bunks and.
I mentioned the programming because for that too, right, we should be aware of what is going on. Programming,
Yeah,
what is not.
oh, yeah.
The Rutabagas, they're gonna play, right?
I think it's probably good. Yeah, they might, I mean, whether they're gonna play, I'll be interested in looking, should they play like, sort of background music one night, or should it be, I can't imagine them a big concert, and having a lot of people coming in, and then that sounds.
No.
And they interrupt the piece or whatever.
No,
Right, so
it'll
people
be-
need some peace, so I say.
Maybe that can be just a separate thing that they're doing as opposed to the auction
Yeah,
piece.
yeah, well, they said that they would come one night and do a background music, and then you could also have a concert or something.
That would be nice. Okay.
So I don't know, if anybody has ideas about something like this, would be fun entertainment. Believe it or not, they're looking at. That's what every church says. They really like it.
Okay, so there will be prizes and.
So, right, so then we'll put up a big, actually, we're gonna put up a big board that says, we need, and you pull off a sticker when you say, I'm gonna do that. So we need, prizes for bingo, so we need some items. We need giant grocery store gift cards so that we can get lunch. So people in the congregation, I mean, we have $500 in the budget, which is not doing that, so the congregation will have to, you know, pay for the people who want to join.
A lot. I did the math.
So I guess we have hiking trails and somebody.
It will be January, but.
Oh, yeah.
Climate change January.
Climate change
Yeah.
Nice brown.
Access to the library.
Yeah, so, you know, the other churches have one huge room, and then they put a barrier and people sleep on one side, and we're not, we're gonna have a bunch of little rooms, which means that people are gonna be unsupervised. Some, and I'm not worried about like destruction of the property, I'm just a little worried that, you know, there might be arguments or something like that, but these are adults, you know, and,
So they will not be essentially downstairs, they will be.
well, so 25 people, it'll be like 6 people in a room, which means it'll be in all of the essentials and the. So the young room, the sisterhood room, all those rooms, they will have it.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's
Every
nice,
last,
because
every
that way
last
they
thing.
can go and read somewhere and.
Yeah, so but then you have like 6 people in a room, and they're actually pretty tight. Actually, the six. Yeah. And then those are the rooms off the explanation.
I'm going to JT's wedding on that, the week before. I come back that Monday, so I won't be there right away. But I'm planning to be there every night.
Well,
Not overnight, but
you don't have to go, because that
I
sounds
don't.
exhausting. No, you don't have to. We'll have coordinators, you know, that.
I
want to,
mean, we'll have office hours though, so we can visit while we're in the office, right?
Well, they won't be here during the day.
Oh, that's right.
But you can visit whenever you want, but I don't want you to feel like you have to get from any place.
All right, I'll visit.
I mean, the probably, as my Irish friend said, Chuck, if you can visit.
Okay.
You know, we'll have an introductory welcome thing, if you want to come and say welcome on us, Friday, Monday at 4, you have to be back.
Okay.
So after your meeting tomorrow, whenever, if you feel it would be helpful to talk about this at the congregation meeting, then, I mean, I think if you could give like a quick blurb.
I agree.
Because by then, you'll have your sign-up juniors in place, right?
You're so right.
So that
yeah.
you can, and we can on the connection card, we can even, kind of remind people about.
I haven't gotten that far, but thank you.
If you can have it by then. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll put this on.
Congregation meeting is
Mhm.
Okay, so like 3 minutes of the congregation meeting or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big time to recruit. It'll be a lot of
course,
people.
you're so right, I just hadn't thought about it.
Yeah.
Even if it's Friday.
All right, any other questions for Carrie? Thank you, it's a great effort.
Thank you.
Okay, feel free.
Thank you guys for your service. I happen to know that it's a lot of work to be on board, and I appreciate you all being here.
I'm gonna run through the board committee reports. I think I asked Jen about that, and she said that, I guess, the meeting is the fourth Monday, which would be next Monday, and she wasn't sure there was gonna be a meeting. So there's nothing to report from Epic, unless, do you have anything, Olga? No, okay,
What, a census?
I said Epic. That's Olga, she had anything for Epic.
No, we're still working. I mean, I think we finalized the date, March 29th, and Fred is going to be our keynote, and we're going to meet with him to discuss the topic. And then at our next meeting, we're going to start thinking about what we need and what we want to do. We just want to make sure we have the whole church, just in case we want to do some sort of breakout rooms, or kind of like we did when Thornell did his community one. We did a whole congregational group, and then we broke up into smaller groups to continue the conversation in smaller groups. So we're thinking about maybe doing something like that. So we're still kind of working through the plans around there.
Great.
But we are working on it, and it looks like it's something that's gonna happen this year, and we're excited about that.
Is that a daytime event or an evening?
Say it again.
The Epic is a daytime event or evening event?
It's 9 to 12, like 9 to 1, I think we said,
It's Saturday, right?
on a Saturday, yes.
So Olga, since Fred retired, I pay him honorariums for whatever he does, so he won't say anything, he's just modest like that, but let me know what you think we should offer him for this. It will come out of your budget, but, you know, were you thinking about that?
Yeah, we were thinking about that. And I guess we would probably just need more guidance around like, what do you normally do? We don't know, like, what do we normally offer him?
Well, for a Sunday sermon, it's $300.
Okay,
But for a half day, probably somewhere around $1,000 to $1,200 would be right.
I would agree with that.
Okay. I thought the census was Epic, sorry.
No,
It's not?
no. It's a separate entity, and it is out. The census is out.
Yeah, so I'm trying to find an email for it.
In the know. I did mine
There's a
already.
link from the in the know from today, but there's also a separate email that went out yesterday, I think.
Oh, yes, you're right.
Okay. So that's in the works.
But we need to mention that in the meeting too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We haven't gotten to the meeting yet. So stewardship, Evelyn Spurgeon has agreed to be the chairperson for stewardship. And we'll be recruiting for other folks to be involved in that. I'm going to be the board liaison, and I'll be working on that as well. If anybody else in the board wants to work on stewardship, there will be various tasks to be done.
Yeah, we have 3 people so far. I am looking for a publicity person.
Mm.
So there's Charlie, Evelyn, and Kathy Davies. We have a theme. I just met with her yesterday, so forward together is the theme.
And we'll be talking about that at the foundation meeting too. Governance. Nicole and I have had conversations with a couple of people about forming a governance committee that would start meeting in January and review the bylaws, policies, procedures, and update them with the goal of if there's anything that needs to be voted upon for change, that would be done at the June 1st congregational meeting. So that group will be given to meet in January. Finance officer's report, we kind of roll that into the minister's report. So
I didn't mention it, but if Charlie wrote it up, there's nothing that I need to say. It's in the document. If
Right.
you read that, we're fine. We have $300,000 of cash right now.
and we're making, it sounds like incremental progress with the bookkeeping.
We have numbers
Mhm.
up to September. He's
Okay.
working on October and November. And we're about 25 corrections. So, and then to resend us all of this.
So congregational meeting is December 8th. There is a draft agenda. I don't know if you want to pull that up,
Sure.
John. So this meeting is, we're not going to be any votes to be taken, so we won't need people to sign in and have voting cards and all that, or really even document a quorum since there aren't any votes to be taken. So the purpose of the meeting is for celebration, information, and engagement. We will have a connection card that will have an opportunity for people to sign up and or comment on anything they wish to, specifically for the meeting. So we're hoping that we can engage people and recruit people for the various things that are going on. this is based upon the previous December meeting last year. Chalice lighting, congregational covenant.
Well, you only gonna give them 15 minutes for coffee?
No, I changed the time, 11:30 to 1. Oh, maybe not on that version. I did a different, I did an updated version. I don't know why I changed that. I had a hard time with. Do the covenant, then, I'll go over what the agenda is and the process for the meeting, and then the Right Relations Committee, Jim Shettle, will update folks on the Right Relations Committee and what their purpose is, and they will be present at the meeting to address any concerns that might come up during the meeting. And then, at our last congregation meeting, we talked about forming a Right Relations Committee. So this will be sort of the first with interaction, so to speak. Then the Board of Trustees reports listed what I thought we should be reporting on. The governance committee, what they'll be doing, the formation of it, recruiting folks for it. Census survey, Jen can give the update. We'll really encourage people to fill out the census and recruit folks to move forward with the survey part. The Capital Campaign Exploratory Committee is going to present their findings so far. And remember, at our last meeting, they have been grouped in categories. We're going to, present that information. And then we have talked a lot about addressing our ministerial structure. And Nicole and Jen and I have talked about this as it's a priority that needs to be addressed. And what I thought could happen is to talk about sort of how we got to where we are now with having one minister. That we didn't vote for this. This is what happened. The last time the congregation voted on calling a minister was when we called Reverend Anastasia to be a minister of equal standing with Reverend John. And the congregation had previously voted that that's the structure that we wanted to have. So we decided when Reverend Fred retired, we had an interim. What are we going to do if we want to call another minister? So we have 2 ministers of equal standing. We called Reverend Anastasia. That model worked for a little over 3 years, pushing 4 years, when she resigned, which left 1 minister of equal standing who has since become our only called minister. We have Reverend Fred, who's the minister emeritus. We have Ryan, who's the interim minister, but the called minister we have is Reverend John. So I think that there has been some questioning among congregants. So what are we going to do? Are we going to have another minister? What does that look like? So I think to sort of review how we got to where we are would be helpful. And then we can start discussing where we want to go from here, what are our needs. And I think it's time for us to look at having a strategic plan. We were going to have a strategic plan 2 boards ago. I can't remember how long ago.
Well, we stopped for
Yeah,
the census and
right.
the next thing.
We had a strategic planning committee
Yeah.
that was put on pause because we thought we needed more information before proceeding. And that information was going to come from the census and the survey. So we will be getting more information from the census and survey. We've also had the Capital Campaign Exploratory Committee gather a lot of information from what people would like to see. And the Strategic Planning Committee can hopefully in the 6 months before the June meeting 5 months, I guess, can come up with a strategic plan that will address ministerial structure and all the other things that we might want to consider in the short and the long run. That information can also then be used for developing what we want to do for a capital campaign. Does that make sense? And is there anything else that should be addressed in that?
Report, right? The board
Mhm.
report. So these are not things to be presented for discussion. Right? This is to tell them and moving on.
Like to inform them,
To inform,
yeah, and to engage them in who wants to help.
Then there has to be conversation. If they
Well-
will want to talk. If they want to hear.
Well, I think that, I don't know how what that would look like in the context of a meeting with 100 or more people. I think my hope would be that people will be interested enough to check their connection card, get them interested in governance, and then we would reach out to them and let them know when that group is getting together, find out what they're interested. Anybody have any thoughts, comments? Input? Okay.
Yeah, you didn't have land in there, but I think you do need to mention in your presentation the Boss House. And just so that it doesn't, people raise their hand and say, what about the Boss House? Because that, you've indicated to me that that's part of that strategic plan. So you have Minister of Structure, Facilities, Land, Governance, Stewardship, which is our strategic plan. And I think that would do, I think everyone would be okay with that, knowing that we are planning to have conversations and a long-range plan.
Okay. So one other report is from Epic and BBC.
No, you didn't put, that wasn't on here.
Yeah, I thought it was.
It was not.
Okay, it should be.
Where does it go?
You go at the top. I think it's good.
It was there just a few minutes ago.
Down at the bottom.
Is it at the bottom?
It was there just a few minutes ago. Did you just, there it
Right
is.
here?
There it is.
You want to put it here, or you want to put it somewhere else?
Where would you all?
But I'm not
Let's see.
presenting. It would be Nicole presenting for BBC, and I guess it would be, is Evelyn? I think Evelyn Sturgis is running our Epic now. So she might be willing to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
BBEL.
We have here the
I'm gonna put, oops,
Harry's presentation about.
Yeah, we need to figure out where to put that. Because there's two things on here that we don't have. One is Carrie, and the other is the person from the UUA who wants to talk about GA involvement. So we need to figure out what that might look like.
For this meeting, aren't we postponing the capital campaign
yeah,
piece?
that's in here.
We are postponing it, but the capital campaign exploratory committee has come up with a list of their findings in terms of what folks are interested in. And so they categorized them, I think it's in the drive from our last meeting, according to what is under.
If
Okay.
you're trying to find time, what exactly are they going to be talking about for right relations?
Right relations is going to be pretty quick. They're basically going to say who they are and what they're doing.
Okay.
And also, to point out that they are present there at the meeting, so if there's any concerns about how the meeting is being conducted or anything anybody says, they are
For
there.
like 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Not long at all.
And they're not there to recruit you,
No, they're not.
the recruiting would be the thing that you will share.
Mhm. Would be for government.
Yeah.
You will share.
I'll have a couple of slides for the positions that are coming in.
Okay,
Academy will be recruiting and.
We always do the anti-racism and stuff late. I think we should move this all the way up.
okay. So why don't we put that, well, Epic is a committee of the board, we can put that as the first, yeah.
I just put Evelyn as a question mark because you didn't check with her.
Yeah.
And you say people don't have to register to stay because it's not a vote, but there would be a way to capture the thing. You said something like that.
Well, you used to have, well, for voting, you would register and you get a card to vote.
It would be nice to know, how many people show up.
I think, we can count how many people showed up. I think that the connection card, well, I think the connection card would be an opportunity for people to say that they're there and vote. I don't know the value of knowing exactly who is there.
We're working on this idea of the community. Not a vote, but it's a.
Or
For the meeting.
after the meeting, it's typically members, I mean, it's not, other people can come, and with all these new members we have, we may have people go, oh, what's this meeting, they came to their one service, and then they stayed for the meeting. So, I think that, I mean, I would hope that if people really want to be engaged, the connection card is really key. And at the last meeting, we got some really good information from the connection card in terms of what people did say, yes, I want to do this, or they made a comment about the meeting, so,
If you encourage them to submit it, even if people don't, volunteer for it.
right, sure.
Just to.
Right, yeah. And that'll be part of the beginning of the meeting, what the process is, you have a connection card, you have to let us know you're here, and what your thoughts are, and you'll decide what you want to, engage with. Okay,
I would say that it's not needing to engage in something that sometimes not
sure.
anymore.
Mhm.
People may feel hesitant to commit. Sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah, and that needs to, I would really try to make that clear, yeah. Um, So John, you and I were talking, earlier in the meeting about not having Laura or Sarah report.
And while we were talking, you see what I did in the minister's report?
Oh, that's a great
I stuck
idea.
it all there,
Good.
and I'm gonna have them tell me what they want me to share.
Okay.
I'll be brief, because I could talk all day.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I mean, I actually
No,
don't, I do talk a lot. My wife says I do, but I don't even realize it. I guess I do.
Well, you are the minister.
Yeah, I mean,
know.
I would hope so. Doing the job you've got.
Okay, so I'll keep it very brief. I just always feel like that's the opportunity to tell the congregation stuff. So what I'm gonna do is prepare the summary of 6 months of reports and important stuff that they might want to look at. I'm gonna have that. So that'll be my giveaway and talk about shared play process that they should, we got this right. This is when I've already told Janina, on top of it, this is when we let people know to vote. No, this is when we let them know to send in suggestions.
To nominate, yeah, whatever.
Nomination. So you send me a nomination. So example, for board members, you all know a company in Anne Arundel County that should be on the ballot to share the plate. Please send it to me with a 1 or 2 sentence description. We only have 7 slots because we automatically have 5 that we always give to. We take all of the rest of those 20 that we get and we turn that into a ballot. And then at the end of the month, we launch it. And then in January, we announce who those 7 parties are. Quite frankly, we only have one, the Piscataway Conoy tribe of Maryland was the only new one, I believe. So we don't get a lot of new ones, probably because our people like the ones we've been choosing. So if you know a group, please send it to me or to Janina or anyone in the office, and they'll get it to you. That's pretty much what I'm going to say for that. Send in your nomination, and then let them know that the slate will be sent out via email, and you will be asked to vote on your top 7. And then people who get the most votes win. But let's see, ACT, Lighthouse, AID, Immigration Justice Network,
Yeah,
UULM, and one more, automatically.
the blue,
Anyway, so we have 5 that are automatic. So,
administrative emergency fund.
yeah, the emergency fund.
Okay.
No, that's only fifth Sunday.
Oh, okay. All right,
There are slides with the recording.
well, that's, I don't know, I mean, it's gonna be up to the people reporting if they need slides, then we'll be doing the slides. If there are any handouts, we have to have those available electronically as well, because the people on Zoom will want them, sure, to be able to have access to them. I don't anticipate we're gonna have any handouts aside from the connection card. We don't have any handouts, do you? There's any-
I'm going to make copies of this thing that's storybook.
okay. What? Will you make copies of?
I do a summary of all my board reports and hand it out to people just so they can see some of the work we've done over the past 6 months. It's pretty time consuming, but I think it's worth doing.
Okay. So I'm wondering if at the end of your report, if that's where the UUA person should speak about.
Oh,
today.
well, see where I stuck them, I'm making changes, but I can change things back. I stuck them, so after the covenant meeting, and then I was just gonna let them get out, go first and then get them out the way.
No, I'd put them at the end of your report. They need to be, you can introduce them.
They'll be at church, they'll get introduced in church.
I know, but I mean, at the meeting, you know, at the end of your minister's report, you can then
Oh.
you can talk about TA and then introduce this person.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got the local and the broad.
Should the money be talked about first? No, ministry first.
Yeah, that's the ministry first, yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're now into the second page. Oh, this is Charlie.
Charlie said in his finance report what he wanted to talk about at the
Actually, yeah, so I hate when stuff runs on the second page, because I can save some space here. Yeah, you had this thing on 16.
I did not write it.
Okay.
Challenge when it comes to doing things like this.
I'm really good
You
at it.
just delete that draft that comes across page 2. I mean,
Where?
if you scroll up, you can see how it says draft right across it. But it doesn't show.
Oh, I don't know how to get rid of that.
See, but yeah, see it. Second volume is still.
I don't know if I did anything with that. I think I did.
Yeah, you got rid of it.
Double click is a powerful thing.
Sometimes people-
Yeah, and that's what the next powerful thing is undo.
Yes.
You're not using those, you're using. Okay, so next. Good, see Charlie's on the page now.
Mhm.
Now we have, is Caroline really gonna do this video?
Uh-huh.
Okay, all right, gotta make sure we have that prepared and ready. Graham's gonna do a non-com.
Yes. I'll have like a couple of slides and that's in the
What?
questions.
No,
Well, I was gonna say, the
That's a
shiny
part of
lights.
what do you want to say to this?
Well, the shining lights, I have to apologize if we do not have, we haven't really discussed them yet. I don't know if we're gonna have shining lights.
Oh.
That's my personal feeling, I'm sorry.
Oh. So many people said thank you to.
I know.
If you guys have a much more, it's not just like the staff giving you a bunch of names saying, hey, thank these people, it's bigger than that.
Well, we really haven't discussed them. One thing, I don't think we thanked the folks that were on the, renovation. Did we do these last time?
Well, we'd have to do it in the spring and that would be fine. That's when we normally did it,
Okay.
but
Well,
that's
we
the
didn't do
budget
it.
meeting.
We didn't do
do
it last spring
I know.
because we were gonna make it a December thing.
If that would give you more time, that's fine.
Okay. I would rather. do
I mean, that list is not gonna change, like, Laura's committed to her people she sent you.
Yep.
The staff got together and basically, I sent you all the names to like 2 or 3 emails that we have. And, it can wait.
Okay.
If it's not on the agenda, people won't mention it. Really.
I don't know.
When is the next opportunity? When is the next opportunity?
And everything, the June meeting, and we're doing a lot of other things, which is why we're doing our meeting in December, and we didn't do it. We didn't do it last spring. We did it the spring before, so we haven't had any in.
It's been a while. It's totally
Yeah.
my fault.
All right, so just take it off.
But you have other people on your committee.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can do to help?
No, it's just, I have not done a very good job on nominating committee. And we did not meet this month, so I need to pull things back together and get us back on track.
Well, that gives you way more time to recruit.
Okay.
I mean, this is more of an informational meeting anyway. It's not a vote kind of meeting.
No, oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
We should call it something else, but it is a congregational meeting.
We did have, I think, in the spring when we were celebrating the 10 years, I think it was and then faithful missionary organization.
I think the people who help with information are always recognized. at the end of the,
Right, that's what I meant, that
Yeah.
at least,
That's
so
a-
people
that's a
haven't
whole
gone the year without being acknowledged.
yeah.
So the construction, people who are involved with the construction, and then soon after.
Yeah. Yeah.
But of course, there are more people.
I know that NOMCOM can get to be pretty, busy at the end of the year approaching. Do you mind if we kind of like,
Yeah,
at least decide them, and then it's done for
Yeah.
whatever it's celebrated.
that's,
It should be a fun thing, to do, not a, oh my God, now we're gonna do this.
Agreed.
Yeah, yeah, okay, all right. We'll do it when we're ready.
That's fine.
Okay, was it?
I updated and sent you I shared the document with you, so I think I think this agenda looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wanna see it again?
No.
Carrie's thing here?
We put,
oh,
Karen, we
the,
put the,
winter relief.
winter relief. there.
Let me pull it back up. Well, and actually, that's really important, because that's gonna require some serious person power. Anything at the end is when people get really weird.
Yeah.
That's gonna be like a quarter of the church.
Well, a lot of them are repeat, so really you're talking about 25 people.
What is
For
that?
7 days.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
not
lot
gonna
of
be,
meals, it's a lot of meals.
it is, but I don't see 100 people. I don't see 100, I maybe see 50.
Well, if you're talking about different ways people can contribute, I mean, we're gonna need to have donations from 100 people,
Okay,
you know, in terms of, money and
yeah.
groceries, I guess, somebody's gotta do the grocery shopping, so.
Well, what do we want to end on? That does, maybe nominated committee. Well, I mean,
It'll be 5 minutes of me talking about what positions are open and
We should end with that, with Terry. Well, if you look at this agenda, it shouldn't take that long.
no. I think we'll be done in an hour.
Yeah, so I think,
If it's going over long and it's at the end, that's a problem.
because we're not really having any discussion time, I mean, should we?
About what?
Well, I'm just saying, should we? I don't think so. I
I don't
mean,
think
is there something that? Yes.
It was strategic time. So,
Mhm.
I don't know how you present it so that the livelihood of that happens.
Mhm. Mhm. I know that, we had the June meeting, where we had a lot of business, that one of the things that Jen did is, and we had this in our agendas, if you have any questions that need to be answered before you can vote on whatever it is you're voting, we will take those questions now. But if they are not, then we will take them at the end. So, I guess we could have an opportunity for people to ask questions at the end. Is that, you think, or not?
The time allows, which it will. You want to, I mean, because like you said, part of this meeting is more conversational, just like one of those congregational conversation kind of thing.
Mhm.
And there is a conversation.
No, we've had meetings, and maybe they're specifically with ULM, where the cards, people can write their questions on cards, the cards are collected, and then the questions are taken in a certain time of the meeting. Right. a much more formal process, but, and it does sort of make people think about what they're gonna ask instead of.
Just jumping in. It's
Yeah.
kind of-
Mhm. You know, so,
I just got there, man.
okay. All right.
I don't know if it's the whole board, but it,
Yeah, I mean, you can, yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to do it, avoiding this, okay. Mhm.
so, like, there's no facility update. I don't know how deep you're gonna go into your facility update.
My facility, okay? Oh, I,
So,
I mean, only to say that we're getting this reserve report to learn what we. I mean, I think I will, unless you're gonna do it in your report,
now, so whatever you don't say, I can cover.
talk about the, repairs that have happened. And in the context of doing the process of doing a comprehensive review of our facilities. To determine when.
Would be nice to have expected lights for them.
For the facilities or for the,
For things that were done, you have, earlier you said there were names of organizations which are displayed on video.
Yeah, I am gonna do that.
So I would
we'll
like
do
to
that.
have a visual so that when you say them, those names, I can do something like that. And I would think if you talk about this and something that would be nice to do it.
You mean, put something on the screen?
Go with the topic.
Okay. It would be easier that way.
when you give the membership update, do we have, any kind of a breakdown of folks who are joining in terms of their age, their gender, are they families, are they people of color, are they, do we have any demographic information about?
I think Laura's keeping it on a napkin, quite frankly. In the last minister's report, I believe she wrote a note. But I don't think we're tracking like we need to. Let me see. And she said 2 POC and 1 LGBTQ plus couple were in the new member cohort. I'll ask.
And is that, I mean, how sensitive are people to that, either wanting to know or feeling like it's not appropriate?
So
I don't know.
Take them into the topic.
Not only in one, two.
I mean, I think,
But when the survey results come out.
Right, the census, yeah.
Sensible.
okay,
That will say it.
Yeah. and it'll say it across the board, and not just in terms of,
So who's reminding people in the meeting to make sure they fill out the census? Charlie? No.
well, it's in here as their census survey.
Jim's doing
Mhm.
it. Okay.
Now, is anything gonna talk about realm?
So that would be here.
Okay. I have to say that when you talk about, the formula that's used to say, are we a growing church, a rapidly growing church, or whatever,
It means nothing.
it means nothing.
It's from the book Fusion.
I know it is, and I don't,
It
I mean, it's,
it gives Laura a gauge and helps her to know she's excited about that. It makes her feel like she's doing her job well.
Mhm.
However, I don't gauge a church. We've grown before. We grew by, I don't know, 65 people one year. And it just always went back to the church it always has been. So I don't actually believe in this growth until I see that it actually, between the net loss and the growth, we actually, if we're 500, at this rate, we'll be 550 people. If we're 500 people by this time next year, I will say we're actually a rapidly growing church, but mostly we end up at about 420, like regularly. You know, we just go up, and back down, up, back down. And so we are rapidly growing, but we also rapidly lose people too. And
But we haven't been.
not since Laura took the job, the attrition has been less.
Well, and since we actually started really tracking it.
Yes, and it looks like, if you look over left and track it, it looks like the attrition is really bad, but she was cleaning up
Right, yeah,
people we were holding on to.
right, right.
Back to your point on demographics, it may not be appropriate to be very micro with the latest numbers, but a big picture would be nice to see for the congregation, to see where they fit in the big
Well,
picture.
I'm
Four
hoping,
hundred or something.
I'm hoping
And
after
in
the census,
contrast,
we'll be able to do that. So that we can actually have evidence that like, hey, we need to do more work in becoming more racially diverse.
right, no, this will not be the number. What I was pointing to is the idea of saying, this is where we were last year, this is where we are right now, or something along the lines
Oh.
of excitement for people to feel.
Mhm.
There's this growth to show that we're doing something, you know.
And as
some
much
kind
as
of
I want
graph
to
or
believe it,
bar or
I
something.
mean, I do want to believe it, but honestly, Noemi, I just seen it go up and down so much.
Well, then no change, just the status, right?
I-
We're
And that's
hundred,
okay.
400, this is where we are now. So
So-
we're one of 400.
We can,
Sometimes people like to know, like, where am I? What is my world? It's 600, 700, 400.
we can do a quick, all we have to do is look at the, who signed the book over the past 4 years. And we could easily do a graph.
And that none of that works just to reassure people that we're so excited and we people have been happy.
Yeah.
And I think that Jen can, in her census survey update, can say the information we're gaining from the census is basically demographics, and it'll give us a snapshot of where we are right now, who we are right now. And then as it changes over time, we can note that.
What is the estimate of time for the different bulletins?
We can go through and do that real quick and, you know, I mean, this is really a little retentive, as they say. I'm gonna erase this, but what do you think, Chancellor?
Was it 100 with the kind of math?
And then, well,
You
Jim
can
is
tell.
gonna be, 3 to 5 minutes, I would give him 5 minutes. Jim is under that regulation.
Oh, sorry, so you're,
Give me 3 minutes,
okay,
Jim 5.
and we'll add it all up and see what we got for it. Well,
People have to come up there, and, yeah, and then they have slides.
well, I mean, why does it have your name here, Board of Trustees report, when the first thing is really Nicole? And
Well, I should, just take my name off of there.
yeah, you okay with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, this is a draft, this is
All right.
not,
I guess
like, who's
the idea is that-
responsible for that, yeah.
I think your name is there because you're the master ceremony.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm appropriate for it.
I
And so
think you're
you're
right.
calling in this meeting.
I think you're right. I
I
think
don't
you're
need
right.
any time.
You need
No,
to
no,
say-
you're-
You need to indicate.
you're gonna say,
to
now we're going
where we
to-
are.
All right.
And when the first call up, you know,
Okay.
in 1 minute for that. And then,
5 minutes. It might be more.
that's it, they're gonna talk about
Well,
the,
probably only one of them, I don't know.
well, you're gonna talk about Fred's thing coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we give people of color as much time as they. Whole governance committee.
It's a lot of fun.
That's the point.
Is the least
Brevity.
category
5 minutes.
You know, we're gonna have to add 10 minutes to the end anyway, because everything goes over. There's people who need to answer questions. Are we voting or anything?
we do my, I think it's actually, you have fun.
Yeah,
This might take a minute. I think it's gonna be 10 minutes, the whole thing.
okay.
All right, so
That's in terms of the agenda. I mean, the strategic planning, I would make that the topic and I wouldn't.
where are you?
Above the minister's report,
No mention
it says strategic planning, that's the topic. You can put in parentheses to include those things. I don't want all of that in the agenda, the public.
Oh,
Strategic planning, that's, very, the other.
is that what you mean?
That's fine.
You
Yeah.
knew where was there.
I knew I was there before.
That's what you mean.
Just strategic
Is it
planning.
from
But you wanna keep all of it so you can remember, is that
Yeah, but
right?
I got them. I have,
Okay,
and it's not a community, is it just,
just put strategic planning.
okay. And how long we gonna get the person from the UUA?
5 minutes.
Really?
That's how we get-
Yeah. Uh, we made 25,000 now, yay! Our current budget status, that would take, 2 minutes. 3, year-end donor, we needed to give for, remind to keep it up to date with your pledge. I think so. And people can ask more questions at the end if they need to. Video, hopefully tell Caroline about that.
Probably 5 minutes.
Yeah. Graham, how much time do you think you need?
5.
Whenever late is gonna be 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And we'll need to put a number on that for now. 1 minute. All right, well, now let's do the math. One, 51. 81. What's that? Hour and 20 minutes?
was meant to be each person.
All right. So you want me to leave these numbers in here? So people could say, know when we're going too long?
But not.
Well, that's not gonna be published on the agenda.
Okay. So, the meeting is, so that's an hour and 20, and we scheduled this meeting for hour and a half.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think it's pretty good. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
Yes.
Everyone has to practice.
Looks like you just lost all your energy, yeah.
Well, I think we finished.
Did you get through everything?
Okay, well, we already did the new business determining board. And we can review our covenant and extinguish the chalice. And any other new business?
If you notice when you leave,
The board goals, that's the one I remember.
Well,
Nicole's leaving it.
Well, Nicole and I did go through the grid to see if we were covering what we said we would, and we did. So I feel like, you guys can look at it too, but I don't think it's anything we have to let's discuss about further.
When you're down the hallway now, you look to the left, you'll see the staff's covenant on the wall. There's 3 things on that wall we want there, and one of them is the board's covenant. Unfortunately, when we got the sheet done, we didn't get it done in time and the board changed. So, It's the board covenant that we have approved.
Yeah.
We make one that everybody signs.
Mhm.
Right. We don't have one with the new board. With it, we do?
Nicole has.
Nicole has it electronically.
Oh. Well, when you walk out, that's the idea is that we want to have it on the wall with the church covenant. In that seating area where the old bookstore is.
Mm-hmm.
And so the staff was there, and then the board was there, and then we'd like to have the church one. And so, Janina wants all your signatures on,
Well, Nicole has it electronically.
okay. The other thing is, the board picture should be up by now, and I'm not, she has that too, right? So Nicole, when you watch the video, please send the board picture to Mary Ann. She's waiting for it. And we need a copy of the signed covenant. We blow it up though, so it's like really this big. You can't really see my coat, but. Okay, and we'd like to get that done as soon as possible because we've been kind of sitting on that.
Okay. Great. So, any other new business? In terms of reviewing our covenant, you want to read it again, or just maybe go around and comment about whether or not you felt like we honored our covenant tonight? Olga, are you still here?
She's here.
She's here.
I mean,
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, great. Where's the covenant? There it is. Yeah, okay.
think we did.
I think we got a lot done. Yeah, I really appreciate everybody's participation and patience. And showing up. I'm sorry that we routinely run over. I don't know how to manage that any better. If anybody has any suggestions, please speak up.
That's it.
No.
Once it's starting at 6:30, is that not?
I think that was hard for some people to be able to do.
Pretty
and I
early in the
understand.
day. I was
Yeah.
working late today.
Yeah,
Okay. Seeing that, I don't see anything changing.
all right. So we'll see you December 8th. If you're not able to make it to the meeting, please let me know, because you will be introduced. It's the board's meeting. Okay,
All right, good night, Olga.
good night, Olga.
Good night.
Bye, Olga.
Good night. Good night.